I'm Nahanda. Welcome to Soul Heights. I'm here today with the lovely and beautiful Ayanna Witter-Johnson.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, darling.
You guys may know Ayanna as an artist, a composer, a celloist, a multi-talented artist who has brought out several singles and EPs, most recently Black Panther. And I brought Ayanna here today to give us a little bit more of an insight into her daily spiritual practice, because I don't know about you, but mornings has always been a thing that I've struggled with, and it's kind of coming to the fore now where I'm trying to think, actually the way I set up my day is going to have a massive impact on the quality of my life and the experiences that I have in that day. And I thought about who I could ask to kind of give me a little bit more information and guidance on that. And through our conversations over the time, I know this is something you've kind of honed and fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a good opportunity to speak to you about what you do and how you go about your day.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I love interviews, and I love talking about my spiritual practice because it definitely is a part of my life that's non-negotiable in some ways.
Yeah.
I get up, and even if it's a shortened version, something happens where I acknowledge my divine connection before I start doing whatever it is I can busy myself with.
And at what stage in your life did you realise that was something fundamental, that no matter what was happening in your day, that was how you wanted to start?
It's been like a full year of a consistent sort of morning practice. I call it my hour of power in the morning.
Yeah.
I get up, I do my hour of power, and before that maybe it was, a little bit sporadic, but now it's something happens every day to acknowledge that.
Was there anything that happened that kind of gave you that motivation to focus and really be determined in that practice?
I'm not sure if there was a particular turning point per se, but there was definitely a sense that if I get up and I rush out the house, this uncentered feeling, sort of, I'm at the whim of anything that happens, and that's a very reactive place to be. And just for my inner calm, I realised when I did start the morning in a very intentional way, it felt good.
This is exactly what I'm trying to achieve, and what I know a lot of people who maybe want to begin a spiritual practice may have heard about Anthony Robbins' half an hour of power, 30 minutes.
Okay.
So we're always looking for something quicker to kind of set us up, give us that moment of zen, and then go out into the world. So let's get a little bit more into your daily practice to understand what it is you actually do.
Yeah, so within my hour of power, I'll definitely have a yoga practice.
Okay.
And that'll be about half an hour of sun salutations, asanas, and that stretching the body helps me to focus into the meditation. So sometimes I would wake up and start with the meditation and then go into the yoga practice. But I found that if I just woke the body up a little bit, it helped me to kind of center my mind when I did want to sit still and just breathe and be in the moment. So now I tend to start with the yoga and then meditate, either just breathing in and out in the silence, or through an assisted guided meditation by the wonderful Esther and Hicks.
We couldn't have a morning session without some part from Esther and Hicks. Some of you guys might see my review coming up on Asking It Is Given, which is also by Esther, and she would say Abraham.
Abraham,
Hicks.
yeah.
So these guys are quite well known in the self-help domain, and they channel this energy of Abraham to kind of give us some answers on spiritual things. So go and check out those books, guys. But yes,
absolutely amazing. Yeah, so this is a book called Getting into the Vortex, and I love the way that it arrived to me, which was on the way into town at a train station. There was a little bookshelf and it was sitting there. So
this is the one you mentioned.
This is the book. Yeah,
called out to you.
It called out to me and I was like, yep, I'll have that. And in the back is a CD with 4 different guided meditations. So one's on general well-being, one's on finance, one's on your physicality, and one's on relationships.
Wow.
And so they're 15 minutes long, and you sit there, there's a sort of music that breathes into the count of 3 and out to the count of 5. And then they say things that resonate with your core about those 4 topics.
And is it both of their voices on the CD?
So it's Esther speaking, and she's channeling Abraham,
right,
which are a collective force of spiritual beings.
Yeah.
And I think the aim is actually to raise your vibration. The whole point of the CDs, and there's a fantastic video online where Esther talks about when she made these meditations.
Yeah.
And she says that even the music that was created to go with it, the fact that it counts in 3 and then out in 5, these are all ways in which to keep you really focused in the moment, because it's hard to tune out when you're breathing in a particular way. Okay. So it's really well crafted, and I've noticed some fantastic changes in my life.
So how long does that meditation take? Would you choose 15 minutes?
So it'll be about 15 minutes, either just breathing into the space or the guided meditation.
Okay.
And then in my last 15 minutes, which may run over into half an hour, I read various chapters from books. So at the moment I'm reading a book called Education of a Kabbalist.
Okay.
And I'll read maybe a chapter of that.
Okay.
Or I will scan what's known as the Zohar, which is the sacred text of Kabbalah.
So speak to us about Kabbalah. How did you come to it? I know
for
a while you were Christian.
Yeah, I was Christian. Maybe I stopped calling myself Christian about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Okay.
I became a born again Christian about 19 or 20.
Okay.
There's about. And I was Christian for a few years and really got into it. I got baptised and everything, you know. But I felt as though it was hard for me to tell people what to believe, and that there was only one way to find a sort of freedom in salvation. Yeah. And I respect the teachings of Jesus Christ. There's definitely a God for me, but the pathway was too narrow in some sense.
Interesting.
And I felt that people should just be allowed to decide however they want to feel saved. It's up to them. And there are many pathways to finding your alignment with God. And it's funny because once I had stopped calling myself Christian, I found through all the other things I read a deeper respect even for Jesus Christ and his teachings. And the way I see it now, the way I interpret what he was talking about and what he was teaching, is I feel it has a more profound effect on me now than it did then.
And how would you think Kabbalah fits in?
Yeah, there's a deep truth within Christianity, and I think what Kabbalah has taught me is that there's a lot of coding in mainstream, if you will, religions. There's a lot of sacred texts that have been coded to hide information from the people at the time. And Kabbalah is one way in which to understand a lot of the biblical coding.
Right.
Because it predates Judaism and Christianity, but it is directly that lineage. It's ahead of that, manifestation of it. So there's a lot of wisdom that helps to unlock that teaching. Right. Yeah.
So you will choose from a selection of books, or do you have kind of a set piece of books that you...
So A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, which I have a copy of here.
A Course in Miracles.
So this is kind of a workbook, and this is pretty dense, I have to say.
Extremely dense.
I've attempted this several times, and it starts off with the kind of premise like, nothing that you're seeing is actually real, and you can kind of take that, and then day 2 you're like, okay, look out the window, nothing out there is real. Look at yourself, nothing's real, and you're like, wow. Okay, this is a mind-bending experience. So I've had to go away and come back several times. But do you work through chronologically?
It's been stop-start in some sense. Like I'll have a season where, I'm going through it chronologically, and then I need a break. Yeah. And then I'll come back and I'll reread where I was, or even further back, and understand that. And it's very much a workbook and a text that you can read and try to understand, but really it's the powers in the workbook, because
this is what I was going to say, because they actually give you exercises on a daily basis to observe certain things. That's or to kind of focus on something and see how that plays out through your day. Yeah. So that will be the kind of influence that you'll have guiding over your day.
And with that though, I would have to set reminders.
Okay.
Because you remember once you've read it, and then your mind gets busy with all kinds of things, and you have to come back to it to zoom out again. Right. So I think the practice is in helping you to see what's supposedly real, but then to be able to zoom out, and that's the distance where you appreciate yourself apart from what it is you do. And I think that's the training, is to take your divine being out of who your ego has created.
Yeah, because this is not the reality that we're here to really experience. It's part of it, and it can
I see the body now as a vehicle, like a really extravagant, sophisticated well-designed, well-crafted, very beautiful vehicle for spiritual enlightenment. Yeah. So we see each other as separate, but we're all the same.
I know, as cliche as it sounds, we do come back to this oneness.
Yeah, there is a oneness, and it's harder to see when you're in conflict with somebody.
Yeah.
But that's when you need to see it most. When you're in conflict with somebody, you need to see that somebody is also me.
Yeah.
Whatever I projected or they're projecting, we're experiencing something that's very connected. And so when things are difficult or it's nice to demonize someone else, I really think no.
So how do you... girl, you're sounding like an angel right now.
No,
I have to say, you're just like zoning out with your halo.
No.
When there's any conflict or tension.
I'm going through it right now. Honestly, I'm going through it right now. And so, you know, I've got something coming up.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to have to meet with people. And I know I have to sit there and remember my connection to the divine. We all want to be loved.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I'm trying to keep in my head. We all want to love and be accepted. And usually when your needs are not being met, it's because you're not feeling loved in some way.
Yeah.
So when you have a or a potentially confrontational situation, you have to keep that in the forefront. We all want to be loved. And there's no way that anyone can get their needs met if we're all still attached to the battle, attached to the separateness. Yeah. Hard because you feel right about something, or you feel justified.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't get your needs met because you
want to be loved. Something we can all relate to.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I think when you know that you're going in with the intention and the resources and the tools that you've set yourself up with in the morning, then you can you're grounded, so you can come back to that. In that moment when you feel yourself physically getting angry, physically getting frustrated, you can hopefully channel back in and tune in.
That's the practice.
practice.
And it's a muscle. We talk about your spiritual muscle. Unless you have situations to help you exercise that muscle, you can zen out and detach yourself from the world and convince yourself that you're now changed, you're now spiritual. But it's these tests that actually help you to develop that muscle.
Yes.
You know, you almost ask for them.
I think you mentioned that you'd seen a lot of changes after doing this kind of daily practice. Is that changes within yourself, your own experience, or the way people reacted around you, or
both?
How?
I feel magnetized right now.
That's a good word.
It's a great word.
Charged.
Yeah. I genuinely feel magnetized. There are a lot of good people and situations consistently coming into my life. And I really appreciate that. And the ones that aren't resonating in a similar frequency have been very peacefully just dissolving. They have been
releasing
with love. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. And I feel that not that you're not going to have conflict, but I just have the tools. I just have the confidence to apply the tools.
So bring it back to the actual physical space that you would wake up in. Obviously, you wake up at home, in your bed. Do you do anything to create that ambience or that vibe? Do you have a certain display pace in your house that you go to? Do you?
So what I do is I wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And I draw the curtains, and I let the natural light come in. So my bedroom looks out onto the garden.
Nice.
So and we don't have people living beyond the back.
Okay.
So it's just trees and the garden.
So you see some nature.
So I see some nature.
Yeah.
It's really lovely. I don't turn on the light.
Okay.
I roll out my yoga mat.
Yeah.
And then I do my yoga right there, and then I usually meditate on the yoga mat. But I light some candles.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you have any assistants?
I light some candles. I love scented candles, and I tend to just use the ones that have been gifted to me. Christmas, birthdays, I've got them all. Like,
got an abundance
of scented candles.
I know what to get.
Yeah, I love scented candles, and they're all on my shelf, and I just light them. And I had the most brilliant birthday present actually from a friend of mine, and it was to create an altar to the goddess of prosperity, Juno.
Okay.
And she made a jar, and it had some stones and some petals and some money, and I had to put an affirmation in there and put some candles to the side. Lovely. And so I wake up and I do my altar to the goddess Juno for my prosperity, and that's really fun as well. So I've added that to my practice.
So that's part of the Greek tradition of gods, right? So I've kind of recently kind of started to do a little bit more reading into the African deities, gods and goddesses, and I think there are a lot of parallels. So I wonder what the African one for Juno, if anyone knows, you might be able to tell us.
Nice.
But you know, looking at Ogun, looking at
absolutely.
you know, some of the Egyptian gods as well.
And it's beautiful. Because even where she sourced the stones and where she sourced the petals from, they all had like a kind of a history to them. So I thought that would be a nice layer to add there.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I've got a few little, what would you call them?
Crystals?
No, like I've got like a Smurf that sits on a pot of gold.
That's unique to Ayanna.
He like sits on a mountain. It's like a mountain of gold with like gold in both hands. And I think like one he receives and one he gives.
That's
and
brilliant. There's a balance there as well.
Yeah. So it's really lovely. Like so, just like strange little artifacts.
That you collect along your journey and add to the altar.
Absolutely.
And then do you sit in a lotus position, or are you just
cross-legged? I change my mudras. Sometimes I do one like this. Sometimes I complete the circuit like that. Either that one or that one usually.
Okay. So how do you obviously tour a lot, you gig a lot, you're away from home a lot. How do you bring that practice with you?
Oh, the yoga mat. If I can't bring a yoga mat, then usually it's like a gym in a hotel and they usually have yoga mats there.
Yeah.
Or I just go on and do it, hopefully floor's not too slippy. But I always do some yoga when I'm away and meditate, especially before getting on stage with the meditation.
Really?
Always. Even if it's like 3 minutes.
And do you tap in during the day? Because I know some people do power meditations where you just kind of like...
No, but I try to do corpse pose, like Shavasana, in the middle of the day, just where you lay down.
Girl, where do you find to lay down in the middle of the day?
5 minutes. Because what it does is just invigorates the vertebrae and gets the blood
flowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like if I've come in and I know I've been pacing up and down, and I've been walking up and down, I've been on the underground and I've been back up and I've been in and I've been out. When I get home, I'm slightly dizzy.
Yeah.
And then I just literally just lay down.
It. I have so much respect for your craft as an artist, and I've come to learn about you as a friend, and I'm just blessed to know you in that capacity as well. But thank you so much for sharing your practices with us.
Thank you.
I think, you know, depending on the book or what your needs are at that time, you can always switch these things up. You know, meditation, movement, and some kind of reflection is basically what you need to kind of get you through the day. So I'm going to try and do this, and we're going to see how we get on. We'll see what good changes we can bring into our life, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what you're working on next and where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm working on a few things at the moment. A few classical commissions actually. I'm writing something for 4 harps, a mini opera, and for a brass dectet.
Wow.
So that's happening, and then on a performance level, I've got some lovely concerts. I'm performing at Ronnie Scott's with Shlomo and May James on the 31st of May, which should be brilliant. And then I'm working on my album.
Oh,
it's coming together.
This is what we want to hear.
Yeah, it's really coming together, so that's really, really exciting. And I really feel actually that the songs as they are actually working to tell a really beautiful story that really is resonating with me right now. Ooh. So yeah, I'm excited.
So lots to look forward to.
Yes.
So how can people keep in touch? How can they see when and where?
Well, all my gigs are posted on my website, ayannamusic.com, AYANNA music.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
You're all up on their social media.
Yeah, and I update those regularly. So.
Perfect. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming to Soul Heights and sharing that with us. I know people maybe don't get to see that side of you very often. And at Soul Heights, we're all about raising vibrations and about tuning into the sides that people maybe don't get to see, because this is what builds the success in my opinion. So it's so beautiful to see an artist who is successful on the outside but is also doing the spiritual work on the inside. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. I will put all of the links to the books Ayanna mentioned, her website, and all of her music, so you guys can keep in touch. And thank you for watching Soul Heights.